Welcome to Emerging Franchise Brands, the podcast that introduces you to the visionary founders of America's fastest growing franchise opportunities. We'll also hear from industry pros as they share what it really takes to achieve the elusive milestone of 100 plus locations. I am your host, Frank Fiume, founder of I9 Sports, and my 20-year journey from inception to acquisition has given me a unique perspective on how to succeed in franchising. Join me as we welcome today's guest. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. On today's show, I have the founder of Wiki-Licious, Amy Johnson. Amy, how are you today?
Doing wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on. I can't wait to hear all about Wiki-Licious and what you guys do. So would you please do share?
Yes, we sell Hawaii's favorite donut, which is called a malasada. And we teach people how to do it under the cottage law from home mostly, or they can do it and add it to an existing food product if they want to. They had a food truck or an event. So
awesome. Okay. Why and how did this thing all start? What even possessed you to start doing this?
Well, I went through a divorce and I had 4 kids I had adopted from Ukraine, and I was homeschooling them and they were just barely learning English. So unfortunately, after the divorce, I was needing to make some more money. And so I wanted something that I could do with my kids. I had a business degree, but I didn't want to go get a job on my own. So I went and researched a bunch of things and decided I would do an event business. So we started Shaved Ice in Alaska, of all things. And so we did great, but it rains a lot in Alaska in the summer. So on those rainy, cold days, we were like, oh, we need something warm to sell to the Alaskans. And we went to Hawaii a lot because, when you live in Alaska, you have to go to Hawaii in the winter to survive the winters. So I found these delicious malasadas on the islands and I learned how to make them and I brought them back to Alaska and we started selling them and they just sold like crazy and they did wonderful. So it was perfect to Shaved Ice. And then it was winter and I'm like, oh, we need money during the winter too. We made a lot in the summer, but so I'm like, let's look. I researched the cottage law and I learned how to do it from home. And so I started selling them in Anchorage from home and we got a huge following. And we started making more donuts. My whole kitchen, my house formed on Fridays. We do like 100 boxes of donuts from our kitchen. I'm like, okay, it got bigger than we could do. So we got a commercial kitchen where we would make masks. We partnered with donut shops. And finally they were like demanding we open a donut shop and be more available. So we opened the donut shop and that's kind of how I got started. But after, having the donut shop and all the employees and the drama and looking at all the numbers, like while I did great in the donut shop, I missed that little model from home. I thought it was so great. Like I did fantastic just doing events and partnering with people and just having my home little factory. And so I thought, what a great thing to franchise. And so that's the model I chose when I franchised, is how to teach people to do that.
Oh my gosh, Amy, this sounds like a Shark Tank episode is what this sounds like. This is what an incredible start. First of all, okay, you've got to be an incredibly proud of yourself. And I've got to say, you're one of the most impressive entrepreneurs that you were able to sell Shaved Ice in Alaska. Okay, that's pretty cool. I don't know everybody could pull that off.
Yeah, they're really committed to their little piece of Hawaii in the summer. Even when it's pouring rain, they still bought Shaved Ice.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Okay, so first of all, where'd you even get this name from? Wiki-Licious. I love it. It's cute.
Yeah, we started with the word wiki, which was fast, and onalicious, which was delicious. But it was like, well, I didn't know anything about creating a business or a brand. And that was too long of a word. Wiki, onalicious. Nobody knew what it meant. So I got an attorney when we franchised and we had to cut it down to one word. And wiki was already taken. So he's like, why don't you just combine the two together? Wiki-Licious. And I'm like, let's do it. So that's how it came about.
That's cool. That is great. That is great.
Fast and delicious-ish.
Yeah. Okay. I know that, entrepreneurship is not easy. We go through tough times. One of the things I really pride myself on this show is my founders that are on here, such as yourself, that we're so transparent. We share about like some of the tough times too. So I'd love for you to share with the audience your entrepreneur journey of the early days and some of the challenges that you faced. Clearly it was one of them, probably trying to get these donuts moved out of the house. But what were some of the challenges early on in the business that you had to overcome?
I think one of the huge challenges is your mindset. It's so easy when hard things come to think, I guess I'll just quit and give up, because it's just a mind game I found. So I had to develop this mindset, like, I am unstoppable. Nothing's going to get in my way. I will always find a way. And I made this little incantation for myself, and I was like, okay. And every time something would come up, an employee would quit, the manager would quit, or something would happen, I would be like, I will always find a way. And I feel like that tool alone has really helped me to overcome a lot of the challenges. Because like you say, there's a problem every day that happens or comes up. I mean, we started in COVID. The bakery was rented. I was ready to go, and COVID hit right during there. And in that moment, I was like, should I do it or not? And I was so terrified about just starting a business in May, right after COVID. But we followed all the regulations. We decided to go for it and just see what happened. And wow, it was amazing. COVID was great for donuts. People, I guess, like to stress eat.
Yes, of course. And people love to stress eat during COVID, for sure. Did you grow up in an entrepreneurial family? Because this was your first business, right?
Yeah, I had a background in finance, but I didn't have my dad was a dentist, so not too much. But I always just had this love of business and reading books, and I studied it in college. So I taught my kids, who were from Ukraine. So we kind of have a background in the bakery. They came and they wanted stuff, and I wanted to teach them the value of money. So I taught my two daughters how to make bread and sell it to the neighbors. So they used to go peddle their bread to the neighbors and then get money to buy their stuff. And that was really cool. So I guess that was kind of the idea of where some of it came from. Yeah.
Okay. What about this incantation? Where did that come from? How possessed you to know to do that, to give yourself sort of that vote of confidence, especially when you needed it the most?
Yeah, I'm a big reader, and I follow a lot of podcasts and stuff in self-development. And so I went to Tony Robbins' Business Mastery. And so he taught me all the tricks about managing your mindset and making an incantation. So I've been using that.
How did I know that was coming, by the way? I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. I've been a fan of Tony for over 30 years. And
oh, really?
I had a feeling we were going there, so I thought I would throw that question out there to see. I thought I would throw the line out there and see if there was going to be a Tony Robbins name drop there. So when did you go to Business Mastery?
Let's see. I've been a lot. Now I'm a senior leader with Tony Robbins. I do it on the side, volunteer. So, gosh, when was my first Business Mastery? Probably, in 2000. It was COVID that got me into Tony Robbins. Somehow I heard about him then. So probably 2021 was my first Business Mastery.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that was that not life-changing or what?
Oh, it's so amazing. Yeah. So
it is amazing. And so did you also say that you volunteered at events? So you crew?
Yeah, I'm a senior leader currently with Tony Robbins. So.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I tell anybody who's ever been to a Tony event to get an opportunity once you've been to an event to go and crew, because it is completely different. You see things totally, through other people's eyes and helping people through their own challenges. When, if you're going to like crew a UPW, it's a memory I will never forget. When I had done it a few times, it is something else.
It's amazing. And then I'm in a different stage of my business. So every time I go to Business Mastery, I think I've done it 4 times now, I hear something new, something different about the strategy, depending on the stage of my business has been in. But yeah, life changing for sure. I love
and that's what most people don't understand, is the reason why we go back is because you're not ready for certain things, or Tony says something that doesn't resonate with you because you're not in that stage of your life or of your business. Yeah. Sure. Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, no wonder this business is flying high. You're into personal development, and you're a go-getter, and you're doing these incantations, and you're not going to quit. You are a gladiator, aren't you?
I am a gladiator. That's right.
So for folks that don't know Tony Robbins and the gladiator thing, you have to go to Business Mastery to find out what we're talking about. Okay. What do you think? Gosh, I know what makes this business model unique, but what do you think has really allowed this to be so scalable?
Well, I think it's like the story. We have so many great stories, is that anyone can do it, really. I price pointed it because my first franchisee, I have a friend who had a son he has a terminal lung disease. So she couldn't send him to daycare. She couldn't send him to school. She had to homeschool him, but she needed extra money. And so I taught her as my first franchisee. Here, let me help you. You can make money from home. You can involve the kids. And she did great. Now her and her husband do this full time. They're able to do all the flexibility with their son and be there for him. And so that really inspired me. Like, I want anyone to be able to do this. I want it to be life-changing for people. Because, selling donuts and sugar wasn't really so exciting for me. So I'm like, let's change lives while we're at it. My Tony background.
Right.
I made a model where anyone could do it. We have people who are disabled, who haven't been able to work, who do donuts and make great money. We have people that are families, their whole family is involved in it. Some of them employ like 20 members of their family on the weekend. And they do like a bunch of events. And so I guess that's me. It's just making it so anyone who wants to can do it. Making it so easy. Just an easy, done for you process.
Amy, what stage of the business? So you founded it in 2017. Right, your first franchise opened in 2022. So over that 5-year period, though, what was the deciding factor on franchising for you that it was the right decision? And when did that exactly happen?
I think it was somewhere in that I opened the bakery and I was like, I do not want to work in the bakery. And I didn't really want to open more bakeries because having employees is kind of hard.
It is.
Hard part, right? Especially when you're employing teenagers. I was like, because in the food industry, you have to, because you can't, with margins, you can't hire a $40 an hour person. So
right.
You're kind of training up the teenagers. And so I was like, I just wanted to make an impact on people that, wanted to do it with their families, like what I had done. I decided soon after the bakery, I guess we opened the bakery in 2000. So 2 years later, we decided, let's franchise this thing.
And you opened your first one in 2022. I got to share some of these statistics with the audience here because this is impressive. People think she's just selling sugar and ice. Let me tell you something. What Amy has. Amy has 54 franchise locations in 17 states. That is impressive, Amy. First of all, how did you find like your first dozen franchise owners? Because so many people always come to me and say, I'm starting out and I don't even know where I'm going to find these franchisees. How did you find your first dozen?
Well, it's about marketing. I realized it's not enough to know donuts. I'm going to have to be a marketing expert. And so I have just jumped all in on marketing. I've learned Facebook ads. I use Go High Level as our thing, just like tracking your marketing, knowing your numbers, knowing where your target market is. I take every marketing class and every year I'm like, I need this skill. I need this skill. I need this skill. So I just started with Facebook groups and I kept giving out free information, collect information, I email like crazy to all my prospects. And now I've learned to run Facebook ads, targeting the states where we're open. And really we just give valuable information like how to start a bakery from home is our number one ad. And people click and they get a free guide. And then they, from there, get on my email list where I persuade them about how beautiful my franchise is.
Amy, this is great advice that you're offering because there's other emerging franchisors that need to take a lesson from what you're telling us. Most franchisors, they're all swimming in the same place, or I should say they're all fishing in the same place trying to find franchise candidates. And, there's like 4,000 franchise opportunities. And, you've decided to really hone in, of course, social media being the way, but ads specifically about your type of business. So you're attracting people that are going to like this kind of business versus just maybe looking at, I want to open a franchise, and then they're comparing multiple franchise opportunities. Your people that are probably buying your franchise are buying because they want to own specifically what you're selling. Is that not true?
Yeah, it's so true. And at first I kind of just did general marketing, and then I would see which of my franchises are successful. And then I honed in. They were people who had owned food trucks before or had done events of some sort. And so then I changed my ads to like, hey, food truck owners. And so it just got that specific person. And now I know that if they are on those pages, they're following that. And even people respond to the ad who aren't food truck owners, but they wish to. And this is such a better model because food trucks, you still have to spend $50 to $75K to get into it. And then you still have to know marketing. So I teach mine to start small, build your following, build your market, learn how to market. Everyone's got to learn how to market. And then, once you got that going, you can open a bakery if you want or do what you want, but don't start there because you got to learn your marketing.
That is brilliant. And the reason why most people don't do that is because they're afraid if I go too small of a niche, I'm not going to get enough people. So they think that I'm going to cast a wide open net. And a competitor of yours, for example, I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but if somebody was competing against you, they would say, well, I want to get anyone that might want to do this. So I'm just going to advertise just for franchise opportunities everywhere you can buy a franchise. And they're missing the fact that you have already decided, you know who your avatar is of who is a great franchise owner. And you're able to target market where most people are not doing that. So I'm not surprised. This is why you've been so successful in a short period of time. So that's incredible. You're in 17 states. Are there particular markets that you're most excited about? Like, what makes you decide on where you want to expand to?
I mean, honestly, right now because some states are harder to register in, like California, They have different rules and it's more expensive. So we're just doing with all the free ones and cheap right now. So
Sure.
as we grow, we have a goal for California because the West Coast, they're going to be a lot with distributions easier there and stuff. But we kind of just fill out the states we started with the ones where we knew people. That's where we started. And then where it was cheaper to go. And we're just targeting those Facebook ads or joining Facebook groups in those states and really becoming a part of the food truck groups. Mm-hmm. And we offer advice and become friends. And then they offer the franchise to people as they follow us. So,
okay. Amy, specifically, if we're talking about even food truck people, I know you've drilled down in terms of the type of person who is really going to be successful. Not just anybody. I'm sure just because somebody has a food truck doesn't mean you're going to accept them into your brand and become a franchise owner. Have you identified maybe some common threads of the people who are most successful, and what does that look like? Who thrives in your system?
I think people who want to have an open mind, they don't really just want this one thing. Because, when you join a franchise, you got to kind of, I don't mean do what I say, but follow what I'm saying, because a lot of them join and they think they know more than me. And I'm like, there's a reason I'm telling you not to do a food truck right now, or don't just go pay a bakery or whatever. And so they've tried it and then they're like, come back around a year later. You're right, Amy. And I'm like, I know I told you, that's why I told you that. So I think just having an open mind and being willing to learn and because we don't know ourselves, you have to follow someone who's been down that path before, as you know, from Tony. He teaches us that. Follow something that's worked. And so I like franchisees who have an open mind, who are willing to learn and implement. And you've got to learn technology. I feel like, the franchisees that succeed, they're willing to do new things. They're learning the technology because marketing is technology. And also they just have that, I'll do anything. I'm not going to quit kind of mentality, because it is hard in the food industry too.
It is.
You have the events where no one buys or things don't go the way you think, and you just get up and keep going.
Yep. But to your point about following the system, success leaves clues, right?
That's right. I love me.
Okay, Amy, tell us about the training that you offer and support.
So we do we used to do live events, but then it was hard for everyone to come. So now we do a virtual event. So we have one-on-one coaching. So we teach you all the marketing. We set up all the marketing system for you first, everything automated, how to do the ads, how to do our marketing system. And then we do a live donut training on the Zoom. So you get to learn how to make the donuts on a Zoom call once you get all your ingredients. But you have a one-on-one coach who takes you through the whole process. We're here available to you. And once they usually get up and going, we don't hear from them very much. But we have a group where we meet every month. We give ongoing support. And we have lots of different models people can use. So whichever direction they want to go, we help them. And
how long is the training process?
I guess depending on how fast you are, probably 4 to 6 weeks, just one class a week we usually introduce, because they've got to start their business. They've got to set up all their marketing. And I mean, we really get them going on the marketing end, like high tech, the latest in marketing. So that's really important to me, that we have online ordering and all the things that they need to be successful.
That's smart. So for those emerging founders that are out there, I hope they took note of what you just said, because this really wasn't a whole lot about making donuts and shaved ice. It was really about the business of donuts and ice, right?
It's because you have to have a good product, but you can have the best product in a corner and no one knows you're even there. So it's about the marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. What's the investment range again on the franchise?
It's $3,000 to $5,000 for your startup fee, your startup stuff. And then depending on what you have, I mean, if you already have a mixer and a fryer, it can be an extra $1,000 or $2,000, depending on.
Okay, this is super low cost, easy entry to get into. And how big is a territory?
So we have big territories and small ones. So if they're over 80,000, like a big city, we charge more of a monthly fee. And then we wanted, because we saw all these people in these little towns that don't have donut shops, but it wasn't enough to sustain like a big fee. So we call it a micro area. So we have 3 sizes that we do, because we wanted that that person in that little town to be able to And we have some that are doing amazing in these small towns, catering all the weddings and doing all the stuff because there's nothing else. So it makes like the perfect product.
Amy, this is like the hottest trend that I've picked up on in interviewing emerging founders are those micro markets where there's less competition. You don't have to fight the battle in the big cities anymore. There's so much opportunity in these smaller markets. And I think these emerging franchisors, they're catching on now. You're figuring out where to fish and where you can win in a very, cluttered market you don't need to be. So I think that's really smart. Tell me about when you obviously in the franchising process, and now that you're a franchisor for 3 years now, what's been maybe one of the biggest surprises you weren't expecting as a result of franchising?
I think working with other franchisees, I guess, I mean, it's just hard whenever you deal with people, employees or franchisees, just, I guess there's a little bit of drama sometimes. So just managing people and handling their emotions and their life happens for everyone. So I find sometimes like we're also a life coach, business owner, like how are people's parents are dying, things are happening and how we help them navigate through life and how we handle all of that. That's been kind of the surprise for me because I was all about business. I'm like, let's just all get together and make money. We don't need drama, but not everyone feels that way.
That is such a great, just a great observation that all of us that have ever gone into franchising, we don't think about the other, the people that are going to be part of our system, that they have a life and they have a personal life. And sometimes we're helping them navigate their own lives. I know I was surprised that I was helping people own their very first business where I thought I was helping them operationally how to run my business. But as it turns out, what I was teaching them is how to run any business. And you're dealing with people whose lives, are sometimes are in turmoil, or sometimes I found somebody coming to my like discovery day where I'm like, wow, this person's a great fit, but they were in their wrong stage of life and they were having the challenges that you couldn't see on paper. And so it's so crazy because franchising, you think, okay, people are going to have the same passion as me. They're going to work just as hard as me, but people have different goals. And I would imagine you've seen this yourself where they have different aspirations on how they define success.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I'm like, come on, try harder, but they're happy with their level and they're just content. And I've had to learn to be like, oh yeah, you're happy there. That's great. Yeah. Not everyone wants what I want.
They're not right. They're not us. Everybody's different. Yeah. Amy, where do you think you're going to take this brand, or where do you see this brand over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think I'm hoping that in every city in the United States, we have someone who's making Wiki donuts at events, at the farmers markets, and employing their family or whatever they want to do with their dream, with their Wiki dream, but just taking the United States. And I'm hoping eventually that we can go to other countries and just teach women how to start baking businesses and market them from their homes because it's such a needed skill in even all parts of the world. So that kind of excites me as my contribution back is helping, that skill in other countries too.
Yeah. Yeah. Entrepreneurship for women has just grown, dramatically over the last 10 years, but I'm noticing it more and more in franchising specifically, that there's more and more female franchisor founders that I know I've met, obviously I've interviewed. And I think that is just phenomenal that women in franchising are trying to help other women get into entrepreneurship that probably have never done it before. So how do you do that? Make that as part of your mission? What do you do?
Well, I think part of it is I have a free group, a school group where I just teach in general. I give out the free information and help women. And I love that part. Or men. Actually, we have a lot of men who are chefs who want to learn like how to start a restaurant. They just have general questions. So I've started there where I just have a free group. Anyone can join. And I put a class out there every month and we have free classes in there, just like how to choose your product, how to do your branding. And so anyone can join from anywhere in the world. And I give out that free information.
All right, neat. All right, I got sort of a Tonyism for you. You probably remember this. Tony taught in business mastery. Remember he talked about Peter Drucker saying business only two things, marketing and innovation.
Oh, yes.
All right. So when you were sitting in business mastery and Tony said that, what do you think was your innovation or marketing that is so different that you're proud of to help the franchisees succeed?
I think one of our innovations is just in marketing is creating a customer list and emailing your customers in a fun way that they like to receive emails. So we not only do we sell donuts, we say we sell happiness. So we send out emails that are like little tips on how to be happier. A lot of stuff I've learned from Tony, but we put little email tips out there and people love it. They come into the shop. We love your emails. Thank you for this. And like, so I'm not only the donut person, I'm like, they love my like whatever advice, but I tell stories. And so I've taught my franchisees to do that as well, we're more of a happy brand, like how to be happy. And our whole message is like, we have you know how Tony teaches, like flash your product and make them feel good and then flash your product, make them feel good and then flash your product. So we're like making them feel good with the happiness thing and then malasadas, but it does go with it because malasadas, even when someone's sick, you don't really show up with a bunch of carrots. It just doesn't have that same message. So
True.
thinking about you with these carrots, like, even if they're not the healthiest, but it's like that idea of thinking of others and giving. So that's really our big message at Wiki, is doing that. And the innovation is we're working on, like, you don't have to have a food truck. I feel like I'm like, how can we do a food business using the rules and going with the cottage industry and partnering with other businesses? So I teach them how to partner with others, because, the big businesses all do that. They all partner,
Sure.
McDonald's and all the gas stations. So I teach them to partner with all the coffee shops and just get together with other small business and do what the big people are doing on a small level and creating great success that way.
And you're creating raving fans, aren't you?
Now, of course, we've got to create our raving fans.
I've had my life really changed by Tony and so many events. And one of the biggest things for me was that success without fulfillment is failure. And that kind of hit me between the eyes. Myself being in a business mastery, it changed me back in 2015. So I'm curious. I like to ask people about legacy because I'm all about fulfillment, and I'm at a different stage of my life now, a different season. What legacy, Amy, do you see this for yourself that you hope to leave and helping in others?
And I learned that same thing that you learned. It's like, I used to have my to-do list. I'll be happy when this, I'll be happy when that. And I'm like, no, because that day's never coming, right? So I had to say, no, I'm happy today. And this is the win I had today. So what did I do good today? And just feeling that fulfillment every day of my life, like at night, this today was so good. And I have to congratulate myself because no one's sitting around congratulating me. So I've become the expert at like, Amy, that was amazing. Good job. And I'm teaching my franchisees the same thing. Like, where's your win? Celebrate. There's more to life than money. And so I hope that's the legacy I'm leaving with my franchise and my business, is just that finding happiness, creating happiness for other people. And it's possible. Like, we're in charge of that. We can do that. We can be happy and finding the joy in the day-to-day.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Tell me, why is now a great time for somebody to join Wiki-Licious as a franchise owner?
This is the biggest trend right now in food industry, is starting from home business, like starting small, but starting from home. States everywhere are starting to recognize this cottage law where they let you make it from your own kitchen. You don't even need any specialized license. You just need a food permit. And I got, like, some states are like $50 for this cottage law, and they don't come inspect it. It's not a big deal. And they're making it way accessible to help the average person just start a food business. So in the economy that's so unknown, and in a world where you never know what's going to happen, like Tony teaches us, create our own economy, right? Like, make sure that you know how to make money whenever you need something. I have a son who's autistic. He's 20. He stopped brushing his teeth and he had 8 cavities, $1,200 bill. I was like, dude, guess you're selling donuts. So he had to make up the donuts, got a little donut route. He earned $1,200, but he knew how to make money because I taught him that he could go out and sell these donuts, and he knew how to do it. So I think that's so cool. I've seen that. I love that about my franchisees. If they need money, they know exactly how to make it. We have tons I have my sister who I taught her, and she takes her family on vacation every year to Europe, and she makes them all earn the donut money to go on their vacation. So it's just that cool ability. Like, I can make money if I need to, and I know how. So I think this is a great opportunity and time for that.
You're helping people be self-sufficient, which does it get any better than that?
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. I'm sold. If you would, tell our audience where they can learn more if they want to become a franchise owner of Wiki-Licious.
Just wikidonuts.com. So if you go there, then you sign up for my list where I give you lots of helpful information, teach you about owning a business, and then you can see if Wiki's good for you. If not, we have lots of information about just starting with other products or if you want to try your own thing. But the great thing about a franchise is I made all the mistakes. I made all the dough recipes wrong. I saw everything. I wasted all the money on finding good events. I did all the mistakes. So you can just come join me and I'll save you all the trouble. Be your coach. You don't have to worry about it.
That's the reason why you become a franchise owner. I agree with you. They don't have to go at it alone, and they don't have to learn, by making mistakes, because it could get really, really expensive. And also psychologically, it is draining when you're making mistakes and you're not given that right guidance, and you start, maybe you don't have that support from other people around you, that they start to see you fail. And that's the reason why you become part of a successful franchise brand, is because you don't have to make those mistakes.
And you get a mentor you automatically have a mentor to help you through it all and to motivate you or whatever you need. So
yeah. Absolutely. Cool. All right. I got a last question for you, Amy. I finish every podcast with a franchise tip jar because the franchise community is so generous with sharing information. So I'm going to end with this. If a friend came to you that was thinking of becoming a franchisee of another brand, what would be a piece of advice you'd give them to making sure they're making a good decision?
They were joining another brand.
They want to be a franchisee. Yeah, they were looking at a franchise opportunity. What would be a piece of advice you'd give them to making sure they're making a good decision?
I guess I would wonder about themselves. Like whenever we do something, wonder about who you are and what do you want to do and do you enjoy it? Because there's so many ways to make money. Honestly, every franchise works. I would imagine, right? They're there because someone made money doing the thing. So even in my job, I'm like, hey, what is it I like to do? What is it I enjoy doing? And then I align myself with that thing that I enjoy to do. Because if you don't like to do it, even if you make a lot of money, like you said, with fulfillment, it is not very joyous. And then, or if you say, I love marketing, but I don't like this part, then how can you hire someone to do the part that you don't want to do? Because I've found great success in hiring a team around me. So I can do only what I love and everyone else does the rest. So if I were looking at a franchise, I would say, what is doing that going to be something I enjoy, or how can I hire to fill the parts that don't fulfill me and that I don't love?
Awesome. Amy, that's great advice. Thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate it. Wish you all the continued success with Wiki-Licious.
Thank you. It was great meeting you. Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.